Hello and welcome to Talking Ed. I am Interim Superintendent Kristopher Schuh. On today's show, we will be discussing the new Jeffco Remote Learning Program, a centralized remote learning program that allows students to still learn via a computer-based environment, but also keeps them engaged in their school of choice. This program will be launched for the 2021-22 school year. But first, I know many of you are concerned about this week's snow remote learning days and the decision we made. We had to make on Monday and Tuesday following the record snowfall here in Denver. That was the fourth largest snowfall in the history of Denver. So many of you asked, why didn't we call a snow day? Or will we ever call a snow day again? I want you to know we will call snow days again here in Denver. We'll call them here in Jefferson County. So now, but we've got that ability to pivot towards remote learning. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. We have three options here in Jeffco for weather situations. We've got a traditional snow day, a 2-hour delay, and a remote learning day. So I can assure you that traditional snow days are still an option here in Jeffco when it comes to our response to these weather events or emergencies, and other options are always going to be there. So just know that, just want you to know that. In the case of Monday, our teams were closely following the developing storm and were notified on Thursday. We let our staffs know, we let our community know on Thursday to prepare for the possibility of remote learning days after the snowstorm. So we wanted them to get their lesson plans ready. We wanted students to take their devices home and materials needed for the potential of a remote learning day the next week. So, because we just want you to know learning is always going to be our priority here in Jeffco. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about and take you back in time. So we did call a snow day in the fall. I think many of you remember that. And we called a snow day. It was a great traditional snow day, and people are sledding and people have the day off. But I want you to know, as the interim superintendent, I received quite a bit of feedback on that, correspondence, phone calls. There was quite a bit of criticism we received on that decision. And this is why. In 2018, as many of you know, our taxpayers passed a mill levy override, 5A. And part of that money was to provide devices to our students. So the criticism that we received was, well, hold on a sec. Our students have devices now. So why can't you provide those learning opportunities for students even when we've got record snowfall? So I remembered that. I held that close as we moved through the year. So now we start getting ready for last weekend. And as any spring storm we know, we thought it was supposed to be snow Armageddon. We all heard all about that. And we cleared out all the grocery stores. Saturday came and went, nothing happened. And then Sunday began. And the predictions for each of those days was about 13 inches of snow. But as Sunday moved along, it was coming down heavy. And I did what I always do, which is I called the superintendents in the area and started talking with them to hear about what they were thinking. And this was a different conversation, everybody. Typically, we all talk about calling a snow day or not, but now there are devices out there in the metro area. So as you know, different districts did some different things on Monday. Some called a snow day. Many of them called a snow day. Some called remote days like we did. Other school districts had already their asynchronous learning days on Monday, so they moved through with that. So it was a different conversation I had with superintendents on that day. Then I brought the emergency team together. We got all our reports on snowfall, where we were going, and we made a decision to call a remote day. Now, I know many people weren't happy with that, because remember in the fall, I told you I received all that feedback, the criticism, you shouldn't be calling a snow day anymore, you've got remote. This was the opposite. Now I received the feedback from the opposite stakeholders saying, Kristopher, we need a snow day. We're exhausted. Our kids, it's the rite of passage. And I know that. I've got 2 kids. You know, we love snowing, sledding, and everything. So I started hearing that. So it was the opposite stakeholder group I heard from saying, you got to be kidding me. We need to call a snow day. So I want you to know, I understand the tension and the conflict there. And that was really hard for me. But let me tell you, this was something we didn't expect. And this is new learning for all of us. So we called a remote day on Monday. Now, on Monday, our teachers were ready to go, right? They're ready to go with asynchronous or synchronous, but we had rolling power outages across Jeffco. And that is a new wrinkle in all this that we always have to be thinking about. So we had communities where we had no power. We had teachers who couldn't get on and help their students. We had students who couldn't get on. We always had the option that parents could dismiss their child and have that traditional snow day. So that was an option in Jeffco. Many parents told me they took that option. I was happy they did. But that was something we need to realize moving forward next is can we deliver that type of instruction in a remote environment? So I want you to know, I thought through that. And then we moved into Tuesday. So Tuesday was also interesting because there were many of our school sites that were plowed out. Many of our streets were plowed out. But we made a decision to call another remote day. That happened across the board in the Denver metro area, except for 2 school districts. They called a snow day. So then the criticism came in again, and it was, are you kidding me? My school is clear. Why can't we have students in person? Well, we have 168 sites here in Jeffco, and despite all the great efforts of our road crews and everyone here in Jeffco, in our county, we didn't have every road open. We didn't have every school open. Our bus transportation hubs were not clear. So we were not able, from an operational standpoint, to have in-person learning on Tuesday. So we had another remote day. It was a much better day as we didn't have rolling power outages. But just wanted to try to explain, these decisions are difficult. We will always keep student learning at the center. That's just what we do. But I just want you to know, we made one decision in the fall, criticism, feedback, another decision now, criticism, feedback. So we'll continue to make the best decisions we can by always keeping learning at the center. So I'll turn to a couple of more comments I want to make here. So on Tuesday, well, what I want to do is I want to thank our incredible facilities, site management, and custodial teams for all their hard work and long hours clearing our building sites on Monday and Tuesday. Incredible work, everybody, incredible. There were snow drifts blocking entrances. There was heavy snow in parking lots, buried fire hydrants, all sorts of other issues that needed to be resolved, and they rocked it. So I want to thank you. Thank you for the pictures that were sent in from all the different schools and sites. Couldn't be more proud. So take a look at this. Here's a great example of our teachers and students thinking outside the snowstorm and inside of the igloo. So this was a community effort led by a Wheat Ridge High School student, according to her teacher, Lisa Lee at Wheat Ridge, and Lisa Lee is incredible. Natalie led a community bonding project of building a large igloo in her front yard, including the help of a few high schoolers, a middle schooler, and about 6 elementary school kids. You can see there that they had their laptops out and were doing their Zoom lessons from the igloo. Now that is awesome, there's learning. So I hope that explains this week's decision process for this monster snowstorm. And I'd like to close out and turn our attention to something really exciting and new here for us in Jeffco. So a few weeks ago, we announced that Jeffco Remote Learning Program for next fall was going to be launched. We like to lean into remote learning, an option that many students and families have found works for them, and share more details about this program. So I would like to say that 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic really threw us for a loop, and it continues to. Like, here's another curveball, right? That's summer storm here in Jeffco. But we're looking for something that fits the learning styles of all of our students here in Jeffco. So today, we're going to dive into exploring the new Jeffco Remote Learning Program, or because we turn everything into an acronym here in Jeffco, the JRLP, and how you can decide if this is a good fit for your student. So let's start with Marcia Anker. And who's better than Marcia Anker? So Marcia is our interim deputy superintendent and a really good friend of mine. She's been with Jeffco for 33 years. Marcia was tapped to head up the centralized remote learning program launch. Welcome, Marcia.
Thank you.
There's Marcia. Marcia, if you could talk, just give us the basics about this new program.
Well, the first thing I want to say is a big shout out to our students and our staff and our families for working in a remote and in-person environment for a year now. It was a year ago this week that we switched to remote learning, and all students, families, and staff have just stepped up and done a marvelous job of accommodating the remote students. For next school year, we're going to have a remote program where students who still want to be a part of the remote learning environment may choose to attend. The highlights are, it is PK-12, so preschool, elementary through 12th grade. It's synchronous, and it will provide an equitable learning opportunity for all students. So those are the highlights. In addition, students who choose this remote program will still be connected to their current school. So if they will be able to attend events, they will be able to participate in athletics, activities, and for the seniors, they will have a diploma from their current high school and graduate with their current high school. So we're trying to have a connection to that school, because they will have the option of returning in person to that current school for the 22-23 school year. So we want to make sure we maintain the connection with communications. So that's the overview, Christopher, and we're excited that we'll be able to offer this option for Jeffco families.
Thanks, Marcia. So we have 80,000 students here in Jeffco. So this year we had 25% of our students who chose the 100% remote option. Just so everybody knows, about 20,000 of our students have enrolled in that. So did this play a role in developing a larger, more centralized program, Marcia?
Well, that did, as well as we surveyed our current remote families in February. And I think what we were surprised about and pleased about is we had over 1,300 families out of a 33% response saying that they would be interested in a remote option for next school year. So that affirmed our decision to move forward for this option for our families.
So the need is there. So in your 33 years in Jeffco, thank you for the 33 years, and even more than that as a teacher, right outside of Jeffco, what was it like rethinking education into a program like this? And what hurdles or surprises came along the way that you had to overcome?
Well, I think that one surprise is we were surprised that we did have that interest. You think, oh, everybody just wants to go back to in person, but I don't think that's not what we're finding. I think we're finding that families, for either COVID reasons or because their student is a preference in learning this in this remote environment, they like it. And to still be able to be connected to their home school, it's a learning style preference for them, as well as, of course, we're always interested in providing options for Jeffco kids. I think a hurdle would be, as thinking in my teacher frame, is how do I continue to engage students? What do I need? What are the strategies I need to use to engage students in a remote environment? And balance that with screen time. So we would definitely want a synchronous learning environment for kids where they're connecting with their teachers and their classmates on screen, but we don't want to overload the screen time as well. So I think that's a challenge that I know Matt Walsh and his team will focus on and do professional learning with teachers to support them.
All right. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you for your commitment to Jeffco, and keep coming back, and we appreciate that. So you mentioned Matt Walsh. So let's turn to the person appointed to lead this program, and that's Mr. Matt Walsh. So hey, Matt. So welcome, and tell us what your role is here in Jeffco, what you do here in Jeffco, and how did you get involved in this new program?
Thanks, Christopher. Well, I'm a community superintendent in Jefferson County Public Schools, and I've been a community superintendent for the past 8 years. I oversee the majority of option and alternative schools, and as well as dual enrollment schools. Early on in this process, I worked closely with the high school principals on our overall restart program and delivering the in-person and remote options across the district in our high schools. But since then, I've been working closely with Jeffco Virtual Academy, better understanding what it is that they offer to our students. And I was approached and had a great interest in being the lead on this, not just for the year ahead in dealing with pandemic, but also just kind of the future opportunities that this carries with for education.
Thank you, sir. So right now, I think a lot of people are wondering, how is this remote program different than the remote program we've had for years here in Jeffco, which is JVA, or Jeffco Virtual Academy? Can you give us a rundown, Matt, of how this program works compared to JVA?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, the greatest and primary difference is that this new program is going to be primarily synchronous. What that means is that students are going to have the opportunity to have face-to-face conversations and instruction with their teachers on a daily basis. They'll be following a structured bell schedule. Obviously, there won't be bells, there'll just be logins. But families are really excited about this because it provides that structure and that organization for students. Obviously, we're talking about a program that leads PK through 12. So the level of synchronous learning that is going to take place is going to be modified based upon the developmental stages of our kids. But the structure and the connection to their neighborhood schools are a big factor and a big difference in terms of JVA. Marcia had talked a little bit about the connection to the neighborhood schools, and that's something that we're hearing loud and clear from our families. In JVA, students are enrolled in JVA. It's an asynchronous environment, meaning that they're able to accomplish their work and complete their assignments on a flexible schedule that is determined by them. Self-directed learners are most successful in JVA's environment. We're looking for one that is a little bit more structured, and we can provide the supports that the students need as they move through their daily schedules.
Okay, Marcia mentioned it. You just mentioned it, Matt. So the new program here keeps students connected to their school of choice. Can you give us some more information, more details about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, I mean, families they want to maintain that connection to their neighborhood school, and we're lifting that up as a part of this program. Every student is going to be primarily enrolled at their home school. What that'll mean is that they'll receive all the communications and all the information that goes out to students and families from that school on a daily and weekly basis. So they'll always be informed as to what types of things are happening. Students will also be welcomed to participate in athletics, activities, clubs, you name it. And we're going to be working with those schools in order to ensure that kids remain connected in all of those different pieces. The other piece of it is that their spot is going to be held at their school. They not only will remain in contact, but over the course of the next year, they can be assured that at the end of this year, if they want to return to their neighborhood school, that their spot will be there and held for them, and they're able to attend. One new wrinkle that we're working on right now that I think is pretty exciting too about maintaining the connection to their neighborhood school is scheduling. While we're very, very early on in the process, one of the goals that we're going to set is that students, especially with a priority in elementary and pre-K, that we're able to keep the students not only just from that particular school together in the same class, but also maybe the articulation area. So that when kids do determine or do decide to return to their neighborhood school, they may be returning to a school to interact with kids that they've already been interacting with in the virtual environment.
So we talked about neighborhood schools, right? So you can be a Bear Creek Bear and you can be involved in this in our remote school. You can be in their plays. You can be playing volleyball with them. Talk a little bit about the interaction with charter schools and option schools here in Jeffco.
Yeah, another driver of this particular program is about equitable experiences across the entire district. Our teachers and our principals and our communities worked really very, very, very hard, and they continue to work hard to offer both a remote and in-person experience. But one of the things that we've learned, not only in terms of like the workload of balancing that, but that there are differences in those experiences across our entire district. So what we've dedicated ourselves to is providing a consistent, equitable, high quality, and comprehensive experience for all of our students. And that includes options as well as charters.
All right, well, thank you. So what if a student is in a special program or needs services program? So our students with IEPs, 504s, gifted and talented students, will those students be served in this new program as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're working closely with our special ed department, Matt Polaro, as well as our GT department, Roger Dowd, as well as dual language and ESL and Catherine Baldwin Johnson. We've got a lot of resources and a lot of folks that are interested in meeting the needs of kids across our entire district. And so as we see our enrollments come in, we're figuring out exactly how many of those students have specific needs, and we're designing the program in order to meet those needs. It's exciting because we really are. We're sitting back and seeing who are the students that are joining us and how is it that we're going to meet their specific needs. It's a exciting endeavor, and we appreciate the challenge.
All right, and it is. Thank you for rising to the challenge, Mr. Walsh. So
Christopher, I was going to add I was just going to add one more thing as far as connection to the homeschool. Another piece, in addition to what Matt is talking about, is as far as trying to keep kids connected with our TIC area, we're also asking the remote program staff to have kids connect with their homeschool on a regular basis every week. And that could be a variety of ways. It could be crew time, it could be advisory, it could be a homeroom, it could be just a group of kids from that particular school working with one staff member. So that'll be a regular connection that students will also have with their home school. So if it's an elementary school, it could be a homeroom where they would see their kids that they may be returning to the following year. So we're going to get principal support or input on that, as well as working with the central remote program to figure out how that would work scheduling wise, but it's an important component.
Thanks, Marcia. Appreciate that. So you've both talked about teachers. So we will be hiring teachers for the Jeffco Remote Learning Program. And right now, so many of our teachers in Jeffco are teaching what we call a dual modality or double duty, which means they're teaching the students in front of them. They're teaching the students on the grid beside them. I was just visiting Mulholm Elementary and walked into a 6th grade teacher. There she is teaching her students in front of her. She's got the students on, I call the Brady Bunch grid right next to her and interacting with both. So is that going to be a situation in this new program? Will teachers be doing that?
Yeah, among so many things that we've learned over the course of this year, providing remote and in person, that's one of the things that we're truly trying to address in this. The teachers that we hire for the Jeffco Remote Learning Program are going to be teaching solely to remote students. They will not be teaching in person on one hand and remote on the other. That's part of that equitable experience. Despite our absolute best efforts, there is some compromise that happens in either teaching or learning when your attention, especially the attention and the planning and the instruction of the teacher, is divided into two different areas. So a big driver is that we're able to provide 100% attention to our remote students, while our neighborhood schools are going to be providing 100% attention to those students that are in person.
All right. So let's talk about courses, electives a little bit. So maybe it's too early to be talking about that because we're building this program out as we're identifying the needs based on who's enrolling here. But do families have an idea of what is offered in this program when it comes to courses and electives?
Yeah, it's actually not too early.
Okay.
We've got a lot of folks working on this, and on the Jeffco Remote Learning Program website is a list of courses that will be available at secondary levels and middle school levels, as well as elementary and pre-K. Our driver, again, is that this is a comprehensive and equitable experience. And so we're partnering with JVA, as well as the iLearn Collaborative, as well as our Ed Tech department, to ensure that these courses are available, they're developed, they're built as a remote learning model, so that all of the virtual manipulatives, all of the tools, all of the interactive tools are systematically appropriate for not only the level of the student, but for the coursework. And as they look through there, I mean, I'm excited because, I mean, again, we're going to be able to offer honors, AP courses, a wide range of electives. And that's one of the things that has kind of surprised us, again, thinking about a remote environment and being able to offer some really, really unique electives. So I think as families have questions and they're able to go in there and see this list, I think that they're going to be pleasantly surprised that we are going to be able to offer a comprehensive and very, very competitive course list.
Matt and Marcia, thank you. Thank you for your time and the information you provided to our community here. And I can't wait to see how this rolls out and serves our students' different learning needs. So appreciate that.
Thanks,
so at this point, everybody, our listeners, you may be thinking that this program may be a good fit. So how do you enroll your child in this remote program? So for that, we turn to a reoccurring guest here, Ms. Mackenzie Nickham, our Director of Enrollment Services. So welcome, Mackenzie.
Hi, Christopher. How are you?
I'm doing great. So if you would, please tell us about your role with the new remote learning program.
So I came into the remote learning program to really assist in developing a system for families to be able to select remote learning. So in January and December, we were asking families to choose their school and enroll Jeffco. And we really were tasked with now, okay, how do we have families choose their learning environment? And we decided to do that through Enroll Jeffco as well.
All right. So walk us through, if you would, how a family would enroll in this new program through our Enroll Jeffco system.
So it is the same process as they would follow as if you wanted to change physical buildings for next year or change schools. So you will log into Enroll Jeffco with your Jeffco Connect username and password. And if you need any assistance with that, you'll want to reach out to your school and they will be happy to reset that for you. Once you log in, you will click Let's Get Started for your student and submit a round 2 application. We've added a question on the application about learning environment. So on the second page, it will ask you which learning environment you want to pursue for the 21-22 school year. And you have the options of remote, in-person, or that you're not sure. If you had applied for an in-person spot and you want to remain on that wait list, you do want to pick not sure. So that is important. So you would answer that question and click next, and then you will apply to the schools that you wish to attend and have that connection to. So each school has a remote version. So there's a South Lakewood Elementary and a remote South Lakewood Elementary, and you will see that for every school in the district. So you would apply to the schools in which you're interested in, click next, and acknowledge the terms and conditions and submit. One thing to keep in mind is you are guaranteed a seat at the school that you're currently enrolled. So if you accepted a spot to attend any school for the 21-22 school year in round 1 or round 2 up until this point, and you apply to them remotely, you are guaranteed that seat with them as that is your current school.
And that was my next question there. So does the program have a wait list? Does it have a lottery? Anything more you want to expand on with that?
So there is no lottery. They are being processed as they are submitted, right? So it is more of a first come, first serve at this point, but we are taking anyone that wants to go remotely until April 7th. At that point, we'll be looking at capacity, and there may be a wait list at a certain grade level or program, just depending on space available for either remote or in person. So if a family wants to switch back and forth after that point, it will depend on if there is a spot available in either learning environment.
Okay, so what happens if a student is currently waitlisted at a school, and then the family decides to accept an offer for our remote learning program?
They would remain on that wait list. So if you apply to go remote, just as if you had accepted an offer to go to another school, any wait lists that are out there are still there. It doesn't remove you from that wait list. If and when you were to get an offer from that waitlisted school, you would get 3 days to make the decision on which one you wanted to choose at that point.
Okay. And so the next question I had queued up, once again, you're doing a great job just kind of connecting all this. So what if a family is waiting to see if they get an in-person offer and they don't? What is the timeline here for them to consider a remote offer?
So they have until the 7th. To freely choose. We will be accepting applications all the way through the end of round 2, which is August 31st. So families will be able to continue to monitor those positions and to apply to other programs all the way up until August 31st. So if things change and they want to change their mind, they have that ability to go in and resubmit or talk to schools and see what their options are.
All right. And so what's happening right now is, because of the pandemic, families have chosen a remote learning environment for their child. Like I said, in Jeffco, 80,000 students, 20,000 of our families are in that environment. And some families are flourishing. Kids are flourishing. They're loving this. That's once again why we're building this whole thing out. So we will have families, and the pandemic still continues. The vaccinations are coming, a lot of good news, a lot of hope through the summer as we move into the fall. Many families may choose the remote learning environment because their child thrives in it. They might also choose it because continuing concerns with COVID. So the question here is, a student enrolls, all right? And so will students and families be able to switch back from the remote learning program to in-person at their home school?
That will be dependent on space available. So up until August 31st, it will be a round 2 application. And if there is a spot in that in-person class, then those schools will continue to send those offers and take those kids back in person. If there's not a spot available, they might be waitlisted until one becomes available. And they will continue to monitor that consistently all the way through August. After August, that will follow the admin transfer process. So they will need to work with the principal at their school and the principal of the Jeffco Remote Learning Program to figure out if there is space available and when that transfer would make the most sense. And so there will be a process in place to evaluate those transfers all year long.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Appreciate all the information. And thank you for providing all these details about how to enroll in our new program. Great to have you here. So would now like to talk a bit with one of our community superintendents, Miss Wendy Doran, who has worn many hats in Jeffco over the years. She's also worn hats in other school districts, and we're going to talk about that. So welcome, Wendy. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. So Wendy, I know you have quite a bit of experience working in schools and also with online learning, as you were a principal of an online school before we were fortunate enough to hire you here in Jeffco. Can you share a bit about what schools you've worked in and how online learning has changed over the years?
Absolutely. I actually started working in the online realm from McLean High School back in 2006. I was working for Jeffco Net as an English teacher and really enjoyed that role. And when Jeffco Virtual Academy opened, I was afforded the opportunity to be the instructional coach as well as an English teacher for the Virtual Academy. Following that, I went to Aurora Public Schools and was selected to be the principal of APS Online as well as the director of online learning for the district, and really have enjoyed the time and learned so much over the process.
So then, as a former principal, what are your thoughts on launching this remote program that still allows for students to stay connected to their school of choice, which is really different than what we've seen? What benefits can families expect out of that?
You know, I think there's a variety. You highlighted it earlier in the conversation about we have some students that are flourishing in this environment, and being able to be afforded that choice is amazing. As a parent of former Jeffco students, you know, I just really appreciate the fact that students and families are getting choices, and that is a strength for sure, so that it can fit in with their schedules and their desires in terms of what education they want to pursue for their kids. I feel that the strongest piece about it is that whether they're looking at career, college, military, this experience of online learning will really afford them a unique environment and skill set that will carry them into the training and actual learning in all three of those areas. And so we're really preparing them for that next step after high school, and really look forward to that. You can't graduate right now out of a traditional four-year college without taking online classes. I know that RTD trains all of their employees on an online format, and Chipotle as well. It trains all of their employees on an online format. And so affording students that ability to experience that and learn in that environment and get better at it every day is a win.
Thank you for all that information perspective, Wendy. So knowing what you know about this program so far, what are some things you would like our community to know about the future of learning in Jeffco?
Really, it just fits right in with our Jeffco generations and the vision and mission and strategic plan of our district. You know, we want to celebrate that deep and meaningful cross-curricular ability and get our community that quality education. And this is a different way to do that. It's the same quality education in a different environment. And so I really think that our community is blessed to be able to have this opportunity, and those who don't want the opportunity can still choose the excellent quality education at the brick and mortar school as well. And so it just opens up the door for different experiences.
Thank you, Wendy. Yeah, based on your background and experience, we appreciate your continuing advocacy for online or remote learning, as we call it here in Jeffco. And we appreciate you coming on to share your perspective.
Thank you.
All right, so we will look at a closing here in a little bit, but before I do that, I'd like to come back to guests and just ask, is there anything throughout these conversations that you would like to bring back up again. So we'll go Marcia, then we'll go to Matt, Mackenzie, and come back around to Wendy again. Is there anything else you want to bring up, clarification for our listeners here about the remote learning program? Marcia?
The only thing that I would add, and I think this is part of something that's going to be posted here on the screen, is we do have websites, external website, and we continually update FAQs on that website. So you can continually go back to check it, both if you're staff, internal site, or families for the external family site, that will continually provide you with information.
Thanks, Marcia. Matt?
I'd begin with building off something that Wendy said. I thought that, her description of preparing kids for the future and the ties that this has to our strategic plan. I mean, that really is an important aspect of this. The purpose of this program is not just solely to maintain remote learners. Our objective is to just make phenomenal learners. So the kids that engage in this process are going to either remain in this school or in this program, or they're going to return to their home schools, and their experience as a part of this is going to be something that enhances their ability to learn, and so that they're able to be and continue to be lifelong learners. The other piece that I wanted to lift up is the feedback that we've been getting from the community and from parents, and primarily just the questions, have been invaluable to this process. So as people are watching this, we hope that they're able to provide us some feedback and to continue to ask and provide perspective from their particular viewpoint. I've had conversations with teachers, I've had conversations with parents, I've had conversations with administrators and district leaders, and in all of those, the greatest piece of this is just the learning that takes place. There's so many different perspectives, there's so many different lenses on this, and their feedback, their questions, their concerns allow us to make this an increasingly better product. So I want to keep that door open for folks to give us feedback and ask us questions.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Mackenzie Nickham.
I think the only thing I would add is just that families that are interested need to make sure that they do apply and submit that information in Enroll Jeffco. We've sent out several surveys throughout the year asking about learning environment and your preference. And now is that time where we really need you to actually take that action and enroll Jeffco. And that is the only way that they can officially let us know and enroll in the program. So even though you may have responded to a survey before, make sure you have gone in and applied and submitted that information in Enroll Jeffco to officially enroll.
Thank you for that clarity, Mackenzie. And like you said, in Enroll Jeffco, it lists the school. Like you said, South Lakewood Elementary, then it says South Lakewood Elementary Remote, correct?
Correct. And the remote is actually on the front. So it's in capital letters on the very front of the title. And there is a search bar there too. So if you're struggling to find it, you can always type remote in that very top search bar and it will only pull up the remote schools. We tried to make them as easy to find as possible.
All right. Thank you, Mackenzie. Why do I think you'll be back again? All right. On to Wendy Doran. Wendy, any closing comments you want to make?
Just a sincere appreciation to the leadership that's involved in putting this school together. I think that it's an outstanding opportunity for many, and I really appreciate the thought and efforts that have gone into it.
All right. So that was a lot of information we shared today. So we certainly don't expect that this Facebook Live covered every question that you might have, our listeners out there. So I want to share a couple of ways you can get more information about the new remote learning program and submit your questions to us. And you heard Matt say that. Please submit those questions and help us build our program, create some clarity for us. So please submit those questions. So check out our Jeffco Remote Learning Program website at jeffcopublicschools.org/JRLP for more details and information about the program, including an expanding FAQ list for families. Like Matt said, when the questions come in, we answer them. We keep on expanding that list. So we appreciate everyone helping us with this program. So after looking over the website, if you still have unanswered questions, We ask that you, once again, submit your questions through a Google form we have on the remote learning website and posted in the Facebook Live comment thread here. So these questions can be reviewed by program staff, and answers will be added to that FAQ, as I stated, as quickly as we can get them up as soon as we go through them. So lastly, we know we have only mentioned Jeffco's Virtual Academy briefly here. If you're wondering how these programs are different, we encourage you to sign up to attend a virtual town hall via Zoom. So Matt Walsh just met Matt here, and the Jeffco Virtual Academy principal, Mr. Bernie Homan, will share information about both programs and answer any questions you may still have. So registration will soon be available on the JRLP webpage. The town hall will be provided in Spanish as well. So in closing, I'd just like to thank our guests one more time for being here. Pleasure. Great job, everybody. Appreciate all your comments. Thank you for being here today. We're excited to be able to provide this new remote option for our students next year. At Jeffco, we put learning first. We've said that a bunch of different times. We want to do everything we can to provide the best learning environment for our students, and whether that's in the classroom, at a school building or not. So Jeffco has options to meet the needs of your students. And I want to clarify once again, snow days are here in Jeffco. I started by talking about snow days. I'll end with snow days. We will have snow days in Jeffco. They will continue, folks. Just know that we'll have them built into the calendars, moving through the years as we move through here in Jeffco. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today, our guests, everyone who joined us online. Take care, and I'm Kristopher Schuh. Until next time on Talking Ed.